start.
So we'll discuss about the spinal nerves. So we should know how many spinal nerves are there, how many vertebrae are there. So in total there are 33 vertebrae usually, including 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, and 4 usually, or up to 5 coccygeal vertebrae. So that makes it 33 or 34 circles. But the number of spinal nerves is 31. The 8 cervical nerve roots, 12 thoracic nerve roots, 5 lumbar nerve roots, 5 sacral nerve roots, and only 1 coccygeal nerve root. Okay, so the difference is in the cervical and the coccygeal nerve roots. So remember that. Okay. This is one point. And then, so these spinal nerves, they are mixed nerves. They contain both the sensory and the motor fibers. So how do they come? So make a small picture. It's not a perfect picture. So but this is the spinal cord in cross section, and so there is the anterior horn. There is the posterior horn. Okay. So the ventral horn or the anterior horn that gives rise to the motor nerve root. Okay. And then the dorsal horn. So you have all the sensory nerve. So this is the motor, ventral or motor. You can remember it as VM, and dorsal or sensory. Okay. So this is the nerve root, and in this dorsal nerve root there is something called, there is a bulge there, that is called a ganglion, that is called the dorsal root ganglion. Okay. It gives the dorsal root ganglion. After that they both join together, they form the spinal nerve. So this is a mixed nerve. The spinal nerve is a mixed nerve. It divides into the anterior rami and the posterior rami. So this is one thing that I have asked. Okay, so you should know which is sensory and which is motor. So remember, I only remember it as, initially when I didn't know, when I was not very used to this. So this is ventral, and ventral is motor. So you can remember it simply like this. And the other one dorsal is sensory. Okay. So another thing they ask is, they have asked this dorsal root ganglion. What kind of, any ganglion has the cell bodies. So what kind of cell body is it? It's a pseudo unipolar neuron is there. Okay, that they have asked somewhere. Okay. And so in the numbers you should know. Okay. And then there is another thing that they have asked sometimes. So it's more important clinically. So I don't know how much useful it will be for from an MCQ point of view, but just know that such a concept exists. So we have the vertebrae, right? We have the this is the cervical lordosis, this is thoracic. So this is now the spinal cord. So at which level of the spinal cord, there is a particular segment, right, or a myotome or a dermatome at a level, and then you have the vertebrae in front. So if there are 7 cervical vertebrae, to know which root arises from that level. So the roots, basically the nerves from the spinal cord, they arise from a certain level, but then they come out through the foramen at certain level. Okay. So if it is a cervical level, so here you have the C1 which goes above the C1 pedicle, and then the C2 goes below the C1 pedicle, and then there is a C2 pedicle, C3 goes below the C2 pedicle. So it's like that. But then after it comes below L1, it is all the nerve roots. So they go down and then they come out through the respective, just below the respective pedicle. I hope you understand, right? So to know which level of the vertebra corresponds to which nerve, they ask that a few times. So from C1 to C7, you have to add, if there is a vertebral level, there are 7 vertebrae, C1 to C7, if you want to know which particular myotome or dermatome or the segment, the spinal cord segment arises, you have to add 1. So C1 vertebra, you have the C2 segment arising, okay, from the spinal cord. So the vertebral body is different and the spinal cord is different. So C1 to 7 add 1. There's a formula, just remember this, write it down somewhere. It sometimes can be helpful. From T1 to T6, that is if you have T6 vertebral pathology, so which level the patient would have a problem, like in the dermatome. So you have to add 2. So if there is T6 level vertebral pathology, the T8 dermatome and myotome and everything below that would be affected. Okay. From T7 to T9, you have to add 3. That is, if it is a T9 vertebral body pathology, then the dermatome and the myotome that would be affected would be from T12 level. Because this is happening because as previously we said, there is a discrepancy between the vertebral body or the bone level and the spinal cord level. So that is why this is happening. So I would repeat, C1 to C7 add 1. So all the cervical add 1. So T1 to T6 add 2. T7 to T9 add 3. So at T9 you have all the thoracic myotomes and dermatomes already involved. So T10 you have L1, L2 spinal cord segments. T11 you have L3, L4 spinal cord segments. T12 you have L5 spinal cord segment. And L1 you have all the sacrum and the coccygeal spinal cord segments. Understand this, right? This is not the nerve root. This is the spinal cord segment. Sometimes it can be helpful, just remember it, note it down somewhere. If you can remember, it may be helpful for in one of the questions. I don't think it has been asked. So we said at L1 the spinal cord ends at the lower border of L1, and at S1 is the level where the dura mater, subarachnoid and subdural spaces end, right? So at this space, the subarachnoid space is very wide, okay, and that is called a lumbar cistern. And you know what is the importance of this lumbar cistern? This is where you give your lumbar spinal injections. So whenever you give a spinal injection, you give into this subarachnoid space here because it's wide, it's easily accessible, and there is no spinal cord at that time. Okay, this is about most of the spinal cord. And then you have to know that the blood supply of the spinal cord is another thing that you should know. Before that, I would talk about denticulate ligaments. What are denticulate ligaments? They have asked about it. Denticulate ligaments arise from the pia mater. Pia mater is just the immediate covering. So in the previous picture I had made, you have this, and then you have this. So this is the dorsal root and this is the ventral root. So in between these, this is the spinal cord. So the pia mater is just between these, and they actually are pial sheaths extending midway between the ventral and the dorsal roots. They attach to the dura through the arachnoid membrane. Okay, these stabilize the spinal cord. There are how many denticulate ligaments are there? There are a total of 21 denticulate ligaments. They have asked what is the first one. First one is at the level of the foramen magnum. Foramen magnum is where the brain continues as the spinal cord. That's a hole in the skull through which the brain continues as the spinal cord. And the last tooth-like structure or the last denticulate ligament is at the level of the conus medullaris. That's where the spinal cord ends, right? So there are 21 denticulate ligaments. They have asked this. Okay. What is the extent of filum terminal that they have asked? Again, we have discussed that. So filum terminal is below S2 to coccyx. So that is the level of filum terminal. And then there are two enlargements of the spinal cord. So these are the levels also we should know. There is a cervical enlargement, there is a lumbar enlargement. Cervical enlargement is where the brachial plexus and the cervical roots come out. So there is an enlargement because you have so many nerves coming out. That is between C3 and T2 level. And where is the lumbar enlargement? That is between L1 and S3 level. Okay, and that is for the lumbosacral plexus. So just a little bit more about the spinal cord anatomy. We have finished most of them. So these are other questions that have been asked. So we told, right, ventral is motor. So they asked, we told that So ventral is efferent. Okay, so efferent roots, they leave the ventral horn. Okay, efferents are motor, right? So whatever leaves spinal cord to the periphery is efferent, and whatever comes to the spinal cord is afferent. So dorsal root is afferent. Okay, so dorsal is sensory, ventral is efferent, ventral is motor. Okay, this, remember it, they have asked it. Okay, and another small thing is, this is the gray horn, right? The center is gray horn, the periphery is white. Okay, white matter. Center is the gray matter in spinal cord. So in the center of the gray matter, you have the central canal. So that carries the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, it's another thing which they ask. So most of the things we have covered. Last part is, you should know about the blood supply of the spinal cord. So there is a single anterior spinal artery, which is a branch of the vertebral artery, and this supplies the anterior 2/3. Anterior 2/3 of the spinal cord is supplied by the anterior spinal artery, and there are two posterior spinal arteries. So anterior, A is the first number, letter right in alphabet. So A is 1. Remember it like this. P is 2. Okay, or you can remember as P is back, right? Posterior is back. So back, this is second. B is the second alphabet. Second, remember it as 2. There are two posterior spinal arteries, one anterior spinal artery. Both are branches of vertebral artery, and which is more important. So ironically, the vertebral artery which is 2 in number, it supplies only 1/3. The artery which is 1 in number is supplying the anterior 2/3 of the vertebral. And you should know about the arteria radicularis magna, or the Adam-Kiewicz artery. Before that, you should know what are the radicular arteries. So radicular arteries are direct branches from the main artery. Say in the most of the thoracic, lumbar, it's the aorta, right? So that's a direct branch. These are direct branches from the main artery, which supply the spinal nerves, and these are important supplies to the spinal cord per se, apart from these anterior posterior spinal arteries. And there is a big arterial radicular artery, which is called the arteria radicularis magna, or otherwise called as the Adam-Kiewicz artery, and it supplies the lower 2/3 of the spinal cord. Okay, it is very important. Okay. So what is the importance of this arteria Adam-Kiewicz artery? You should just remember, because this artery comes at around the T11, T12 level, so it's a very big artery and it has a big supply to the spinal cord. So if at all you do any surgery at this level, the thoracolumbar region, there is a high chance that you may be directly injuring, if you are injuring these radicular arteries, because usually these radicular arteries are gravely level. But to this particular radicular artery, if it may be supplying a large part of the segment of the spinal cord. So if this is injured, then that can injure a large part of the spinal cord, and the patient can be paralyzed. So arteria radicularis magna, or Adam-Kiewicz artery, it's important because it's a big radicular artery and can supply a big part of the spinal cord, and if injured it can cause paralysis also, and therefore this region, the thoracolumbar region, is called as the watershed region of the spinal cord. Okay. Another important point in terms of the development, which they usually ask, is with the spine, is what develops from what. So you know the vertebral body, right? So the nucleus pulposus and annulus fibrosus, these are the two parts of the intervertebral disc. So how is the we can come to the board now. I'll take all of this off. So basically there is a vertebral body. Okay, in the front it's like this only, and there is another vertebral body, and in between them there is the disc. Okay, so the disc is like this, taking an axial section. So the outer part of the disc is the annulus fibrosus. The inner part is called as the nucleus pulposus. This nucleus pulposus, where it develops from, they keep asking, it is the notochord. Okay, whereas this vertebral body and the outer part, the annulus, they develop from the sclerotome or the sclerotome part of the mesenchyme. So they develop from the mesoderm or the mesenchyme. Okay, this is the another question that they keep asking. And one more question they have asked, so posteriorly lamina is there. This is the lamina. Okay, this is how the lamina are. Then I'll make a good picture again. Make a picture from the side only. So this is the vertebra at one level. This is the spinous process behind. So between them you have what is called as the, at this region, is the ligamentum flavum. So the ligamentum flavum spans between the lamina. Okay, the lamina is a part of the posterior neural arch. So if this is the vertebra, these are the pedicles. This is the lamina. And this is the transverse process. This is the spinous process. So this is the lamina. But between two laminae, when you look from the side, we have a soft tissue called the ligamentum flavum. What is it made of? They keep asking. It is elastin. Okay. It has elastin, central core of elastin, mesh-like fiber. So this is the